Hey friend, welcome. We just wrapped up a week of camping and I thought it might be a good time to kind of chat about some tips for camping with kids. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Jen and this is Layla. And I'm married to Alex. We have 4 kids. They are 3, 5, 11, and 14. And I like to chat about contentment and what that means in a world that is just full of competition and comparison. And you might think, what does that have to do with camping? And we'll get to that. I have notes, so if I'm glancing down, forgive me. Lay down. Lay down. Good girl. But I just thought we'd chat a little bit about some of my favorite tips for camping with kids. We love to camp. We camp a lot in the fall and in the spring because I like fair weather. I don't like to be cold and I don't like to be hot. So we like to camp a lot in the fall. So we actually still have three I think camping trips left scheduled this year. So I have, I think, 10 or 11 tips that I thought I would just go through kind of quickly.
What is?
My first tip is don't overpack. Toys, clothes, there's so much gear, just don't overpack. You end up washing everything when you get back anyway. So it's gonna be different for each family, but you know what you need, just take what you need. Pack something to do in case it rains. For us, this means like games, books. I like to get like something like a little craft kit or something from like the Dollar Tree and tuck it away to have in case it rains. Another thing is find out if wherever you're camping has a nature center. We like to camp a lot at state parks and they have really great nature centers, and so we will often save the nature center for a day that maybe it's raining. A third tip is to keep meals super simple. We always have a hot dog night when we're camping, and I like to do freezer meals. So what I do the week before is I cook the same things that I'm going to cook while we're camping, and I go ahead and pre-make those and put them in the freezer. This does a couple things for me. One, it's less prep when we're actually camping. I'm not worrying about dicing vegetables. 2, I'm not stressed about making sure meat is cooked all the way through when I'm cooking over a fire or like on a camp stove, right? I don't have to stress about that. And 3, when I store them in Ziploc bags, and so they store really flat in the cooler. And that makes a whole lot more sense to me than trying to pack a bunch of ingredients into my cooler, or I use like a bin for my pantry supplies. So just keep meals simple. Another thing that we do is if we are going in the summer, we only try to do 1 fire meal a day. And if it's in the fall, sometimes we'll do 2, but we just really try to keep it to 1. That way we don't have to worry about like if it rains, trying to start a fire, things like that. Plus, then, you know, if we want to go for a hike and it's lunchtime, we don't have to worry about trying to find a fire. We have the packed lunch there ready for us. So, all right, another important tip is to adjust and even maybe lower your expectations. It's not gonna be perfect. It's never perfect. I don't know about you, but certainly for me, I get these like ideals in my head, like, oh, we're gonna have this fire in the morning and it'll be cozy, and no, there's always a kid like, it's always something, right? It's always something. So just adjust and maybe even lower your expectations. I would recommend that you involve your kids. Involve them in the packing, in the prepping, in the setting up. My older kids can put up and take down the tent by themselves. They enjoy it more if they're involved. You can even have them involved in the planning, maybe picking out where you're going or things that you're gonna do while you're there. All right. Oh, this one is huge for me. Know your limits. Know your limits. So this might mean, I have water written down, and I'm kind of wondering what that means. I don't know. Something happened with water. So know your limits. That could be the number of days that you're camping. It might mean noise. The limits might be your noise. It might be a noise issue. There was one trip in the spring when I went with just my kids. My husband stayed back to work, and we ended up leaving a night early because the prior night, the campsite right next to us ran a generator the entire night, and I did not sleep. And I was like, you know what? I'm just not gonna do it again. Not gonna do it again. So know your limits. To my next tip is to do something for you. I think oftentimes as moms, we focus so much on this experience for our kids, right? We want to make everything perfect and experiential. I don't know. But you need to do something for yourself. For me, that means practicing yoga when I'm out there. It means nature journaling. It means going for hikes, and even just as a family going for hikes. And then also kayaking is kind of key for me. There was one time we were on a trip, and it was one of our first, so I didn't really know these things about myself yet, and like my camping personality, kind of. So I was just kind of stressed, and my husband was like, you need to go kayak. So he held all the kids back at the campsite, and I went and rented a kayak at the marina where we were, and I just had an hour to myself, and it was lovely. I really enjoy being on the water and by myself. So yeah, do something for you. Don't just make it all about your kids. This one's a little tricky, but I think it's kind of important. Try to keep a routine, even though you're completely off your regular routine. So for us, that means we have really slow mornings around a campfire usually. We enjoy getting like hot chocolate for the kids, and I make my coffee over the campfire, and we just have a really like long, slow morning. And so then this last time where we went, we were kayaking the whole time. So we would have our nice slow morning, we would go and kayak. We stopped kind of mid afternoon and had a picnic lunch, and then we would kayak some more, and then we came home or came back to the campsite and made our dinner, and then we just stayed at the campsite, and it was lovely. But we just kept that kind of same routine of slow morning, activity, lunch, activity, dinner, and then just kind of chilling around the campfire for the evening. And then it wasn't so chaotic as usual. So just try to keep a little bit of a routine. Okay, super practical tip. Keep track of your keys. I say this because we had an experience, and thankfully I was camping by myself, not far from home, so my husband could run a set of keys up, but sometimes those keys get locked in vans, and that's not great when you're at a campsite. So kind of a fun tip is to do your s'mores in the morning. We did this just our last trip. I had heard it from someone else, and I don't remember when or where, but I've always thought, oh, we should try that, and we never have. But this last trip that we just came back from, we did our s'mores and it was part of our like slow morning around the campfire, and it was fantastic. We gave the kids all the sugar first thing in the morning, and then we weren't worried about s'mores and trying to keep the campfire up after dinner, and we weren't worried about that like at bedtime, and it was great. So everybody got their s'mores, got it done first thing in the morning. It was great. One tip I would encourage you to do, if you don't already do this, is try nature journaling. You're already out in this big...
Can I put this at a table?
Yes, you can use it as a table. You are already out in the world that God created, and why not try nature journaling? It's pretty simple. You just need some colored pencils, a pencil, and a journal, something to draw on, and you just draw what you see. We like to pick flowers and draw those flowers and just kind of what we observe about that. We use a really great YouTube channel that I will link in the comments below, and for nature journaling, but it might be a little out of your box, but something that I would just encourage you to do, maybe just for yourself. It's something that I love, and or maybe just for the whole family. The kids, some of my kids really enjoy nature journaling as well. I have two more. One is be present. So often it's easy for us to get caught up in our phones, in our book we read or whatever, and there's definitely time for that, but just make sure that you're being present with your kiddos. I had intended on having a bunch of like B-roll for this video, and I don't have much because I kind of put my phone away when we're camping, and it's rejuvenating for me, and it's good for my kids that they're not trying to vie for my attention while we're camping. We actually went on this amazing hike in a trip in the spring, and it was fantastic. We saw like 3 turtles and so many frogs, and there were black raspberries, and it was wonderful. And the whole time I was like, my phone's back at the campsite. I just left my phone, and so now, you know, I don't have a physical visual reminder of that hike, but I have the memories of it, and it's great. So my last tip is just to give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. You know, we might have a bunch of expectations for ourselves. We might see perfect Pinteresty thing. I say Pinteresty a lot, don't I? We might see perfect, you know, pictures or blog posts or social media posts of people, you know, doing these kind of idyllic camping things. But if you are going on a trip with your kids, if you are being intentional with your kids, you are doing great. So just give yourself grace in that moment. I know for me, there are times I get frustrated, I raise my voice, and I just have to take a step back and enjoy the moment that I'm in. So just give yourself grace. And that's kind of how I see the contentment aspect of this too. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be over the top. It just has to be you doing your best in the moment. All right, those are all my tips that I have for you. If you have any questions about those tips, if I didn't explain something well, or better yet, if you have tips of your own, I would love it if you would leave those in the comments. Let us know your favorite tip for camping with kids. And yeah, give this video a like and a thumbs up if you enjoyed some of my tips, and consider subscribing. I make videos on motherhood, marriage, and homemaking. Please remember that you are okay just the way you are. I'll see you soon.